Hey everybody, Drew here. Welcome back. Moving on to step 2 today um, is basically about making sure that you've got everything that you need for the build. So we're going to go over some things. I've got a majority of it laid out here on the table. Some of it I don't for obvious reasons. There's just not enough room to lay it all out. But we'll talk about that once we get to that step. So basically the first thing that you're going to need is a whole lot of clamps. So if you don't have clamps, I implore you to go out and buy some because you're going to need a bunch. We've got a box back there full of clamps, and I know a lot of people usually use a whole lot more clamps, but I also use some cinching straps and don't have those photoed here as well. But when you're putting the bottom panels on the hull, you're definitely going to want to use some tension straps, and we'll go over that step once we get there. You're going to need a pencil, you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need a file, you're going to need a good small 90 to make sure that all of your corners are square because you don't want your boat tweaked. If it's tweaked, it's not going to run right in the water. That's very important. You're going to need some sandpaper. I go 120 grit all the way up to 600. I've got sanding blocks, paper, and then small triangular sanding stuff for my oscillating sander. That's also not pictured here, but you'll definitely be using an oscillating sander to help you shape corners and for finishing on the boat when you're done. Again, we'll go over all of that when we get to that step. Definitely want to have your builder's manual on hand. That's going to be key to a successful build. Tells you how to do everything step by step. You're going to want to have yourself a decent mixing cup. In my case, I use the silicone mixing cup so that when the resin dries, I can just pop it right out of there and do a fresh mix. I actually keep several of these on hand so that if I have to do mixes back to back, I just move one out the way and go right to the next cup. You're going to want to have some decent 30-minute epoxy, possibly some 5 or 10-minute epoxy as well for touch-ups and quick fill. You're going to definitely want to have your fiberglass matting. You're going to want to have some carbon fiber Kevlar or some carbon fiber on hand to reinforce the hull. Proper PPE, definitely wear some gloves, folks. You don't want to be handling these chemicals and getting it on your skin because it's quite irritant and can make you awfully sick as well. So use the gloves, glasses as well. This is 2 parts epoxy laminating resin, and basically it's a 1-to-2 mix. I've got some EPA foam back here that I use for dressing the boat up with. That comes in different thicknesses. It looks quite nice in the boat. Bob Smith Industries foam glue works pretty well to keep it secure in the hull. Adhesives, definitely going to want to use some really good wood glues. I use the Type-On 3. It's never failed. Don't buy the cheap stuff. You'll hate yourselves for doing it. So I highly suggest getting a really good grade of the wood glue. Get yourself a decent medium CA glue, and an accelerator spray can because you're going to want that process sped up. The faster you can actually get that to set, the better off you are. And again, having that cornering tool right there comes in handy because you want to make sure everything's nice and square. So with that being said, there's quite a few other things that I don't have laid out here on the table, but once again, once we get to those steps, I'll bring all of those tools and techniques to your attention. So more to come on the Zippkits VBOX build by NOLA RC Power.